Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to both of our chairpersons and our ranking members for holding this hearing today. And I want to say thank you to all of our educators who serve on these committees and to all of the educators out there who are listening in. Thank you for serving our communities. Thank you for serving this vital role in helping lift up our children and help prepare them for their futures. I have one message this morning, which is please fund BIE schools. The federal government has a treaty, trust, and moral responsibility to fund these schools. We signed hundreds of treaties as a nation with tribal nations. We made commitments over the last 150 years that we would ensure that our Native children had not only an adequate education, but a brilliant education that would help to prepare them for their futures. And we need to fund these schools. It is Congress's responsibility in partnership with the administration to ensure that we are doing that. And that is why myself and 25 colleagues sent a letter to the Appropriations Committee asking the committee to fully fund our schools, the construction backlog, and to provide support for our tribal colleges and universities. I know this is an oversight of the administration's role in BIE, but we in Congress also have a fundamental moral responsibility and a fundamental tribal trust responsibility as well. And so it's not only on our BIE colleagues who are here today, but on us. And so I really want to emphasize that this morning. I want to thank you, Director Dearborn, for being willing to step up and to play this role as the director of these programs. During the Obama administration, I worked at OMB and was on the panel of individuals that was helping to bring forward some of the reforms for the BIE. It's a long road, and I know that we will be working on these issues for many years. I'm grateful for your leadership and your dedication to these schools. As we've been talking this morning, these BIE schools provide vital education to over 40,000 Native students across the country. I want to emphasize, especially for my colleagues this morning who've been asking questions about school choice, some of these schools are in places where this is the only school that is available for hours of driving. These schools are historic, they are in communities, they provide tribally and culturally and linguistically appropriate education, and we need to be making sure that we are not only providing the administrative supports for these schools, but that they have adequate funding to replace decrepit buildings and maintenance issues, that they're able to hire these teachers that are from these communities, and that there is the proper bureaucratic structures in place to partner with tribes, to consult with tribes, to ensure that we're meeting the needs of those students in those schools, and that ultimately, if tribal communities want to take control of these schools, that they're able to. And so all of that takes strong leadership and addressing many of the issues that have been identified. I want to take just a moment here to emphasize the needs in my district. We have a number of tribally controlled schools and BIE schools across New Mexico. In my district, the Tohajale chapter of the Navajo Nation has a school that desperately needs to be replaced. It was built in a floodplain as a boarding school. It is no longer adequate. These kids have been sent home. There is not sufficient Wi-Fi for these kids to be learning. And so Director Dearborn, my plea to you and my ask of you this morning is, will you commit today to make sure that we are meeting the needs of Tohajale Community School, and we are prioritizing that school to get it rebuilt in a safe way so that our kids can go back to school?
Yes, I'll commit to that. And thank you for your support.
Thank you, Director. And I know that these are a priority, obviously, for you, for your staff. I want to thank your staff for their incredible commitment. We also have Pueblo schools across New Mexico that need facility support, that need help getting staffing and teachers there. But again, before I sign off here with my time, I just want to emphasize we must fund these schools adequately. This is not about school choice. This is not about having schools that do not that invest too much money. This is about underinvestment of funds. This is about the history of how the United States historically made commitments to tribal communities that we would provide sufficient funding to educate Native children, and about ensuring that we make good on those promises, that we provide the funding that the US government promised that it would do so, and ensure that we are investing in those schools and all of the supports that our students need. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning and for holding this important hearing.